Hello, and welcome to Auto Be Careful, the place for car safety news and information. I'm Gene, and today we're going to talk about vehicle type approval, which is used in several major developed countries, but not in the US. Before we talk about what vehicle type approval is, we need to go over two separate concepts: vehicle compliance and safety ratings. At the lowest level, we have vehicle compliance. Every country has rules and regulations to ensure the vehicles sold in that country meet minimum standards for functionality and safety. If a vehicle doesn't comply with those standards, it can't be sold in that country. Beyond that, manufacturers can go a little or a lot further to add safety features, which is where safety ratings come in. Safety ratings help differentiate one vehicle from another in order to allow consumers to decide which vehicles meet their individual safety needs. This is typically done by providing a summary of how one vehicle compares against similar vehicles. So let's start with the United States. In the US, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, publishes the Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standards, or FMVSS, which is the minimum standard a vehicle must meet in order to be sold in the United States. Manufacturers are responsible for certifying that their vehicles comply with the FMVSS prior to selling them to a customer. If a vehicle is found to be in violation of these rules after it's been sold, the NHTSA will take enforcement action against the manufacturer. The NHTSA is also the regulatory agency that enforces these standards, which it does through investigations and recalls of affected vehicles that have been sold. As you can imagine, this manufacturer self certification and post sale enforcement process can lead to situations where a vehicle is sold to a customer, but it cannot be legally operated on US roads because it doesn't comply with the FMVSS. There have actually been situations where these vehicles have made it out onto US roadways but don't meet US minimum safety standards. These have been as minor as incorrect labels being affixed to vehicles, or as major as seats not correctly locking into place or electrical system problems. If such an issue is uncovered, the NHTSA will work with the manufacturer to come up with a solution which the manufacturer will then have to implement at their own cost. Unfortunately, because this happens after the vehicle has already been sold, it puts the customer at risk. This process works a little differently in Europe. European countries require vehicles to go through a process called vehicle type approval prior to being sold. In this process, manufacturers are required to submit samples of vehicles and vehicle systems to independent third party testers in order to verify they meet the country's minimum standards for sale. The vehicle and vehicle systems must pass these tests before the vehicle can be sold to a single customer. Additionally, the manufacturer is required to have what's called a conformity of production clearance, which essentially certifies that the vehicle will continue to meet the same standards throughout its entire production run. This clearance must be renewed periodically in order to ensure compliance during that time. Depending on the country, vehicle type approval may include some level of emissions and crash testing as well. Obviously, even with all these advanced checks, there may still be some safety issues that arise after a vehicle is sold. Like the US, European countries have a recall system that requires manufacturers to notify owners and cover recalls when necessary. European countries can also force the manufacturer to issue a recall similar to the NHTSA in the US. The main difference is this is more of a last line of defense in a multi phase independent process rather than the only option. Like European countries, China requires vehicle type approval in order for a vehicle to be sold in the country. While this system is very similar to the one used in Europe, China's is a bit more stringent. Additionally, China's testing focuses on meeting the minimum standards for sale in China only, while Europe allows testing to be completed in one country and have approval automatically transferred to other European countries. There are huge benefits to vehicle type approval, but there are some downsides as well. The process can be expensive to complete, adding costs to the manufacturer, which are likely to be passed on to the consumer. This can have a bigger impact on smaller manufacturers, which usually produce lower volumes of vehicles. Fortunately, these requirements usually have carve outs for low volume manufacturers, which can reduce or eliminate the burden and alleviate this issue. Beyond vehicle compliance, agencies in several countries provide vehicle safety ratings to differentiate one vehicle from another. This can help customers decide between similar vehicles by providing additional information on things like vehicle crash performance, how easy it is to connect a child seat, and what other non standard safety features are available. For example, in the US, the NHTSA rates vehicles based on a 5-star system, and the Insurance Institute of Highway Safety generates lists of the safest new vehicles every year. This allows customers to directly compare multiple vehicles. This all leads to the question, should the US move to a process where vehicle safety systems are validated by independent third parties rather than the manufacturers themselves? Let me know what you think in the comments. So that's a look at vehicle safety system certifications and how the US compares to other major countries. As always, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something, and remember to like and subscribe.